How important is sex in a relationship? Sexual compatibility is more important than the act itself. If the pair of you are completely incompatible in terms of your desires, libido, kinks, etc., then it's not going to work out. If you're mostly similar and are willing to communicate openly and properly with each other, then the relationship is far more likely to work. This is very contextual. More important is both partners feel they have a mutual understanding and level of fulfillment from that aspect of the relationship. I enjoy sex, but if something happened that prevented sex with my wife, I would still love her and be faithful. Our relationship is much more than just sex, but that is after 14 years of marriage, 3 kids, and some major events. We are in this journey together no matter what. My parents have been together 30 years this year, and 2 kids. They sleep in separate bedrooms but still love each other very much. My mom snores. My dad has bad night terrors. He likes to go to bed early and read, and my mom likes to stay up late watching movies with us kids, both living at home for a bit. As a 26-year-old, it's nice to see that love means a lot more than sex. I think it's important to have that intimate, physical bond with your partner. However, I believe that it also completely depends on who you're with. I think that intimate bond is heaps important, but whether that's felt through sex or just body massages, back scratches, hand holding etc., that's up to the individuals. As important as the people in the relationship deem it to be, so that ranges from critically important, and validly so, to completely unimportant, and validly so. While the act itself might not be super important, the intimacy that goes along with it is very important. Also, the feeling of being desired is a very important aspect to a healthy relationship, and from things I have read, it's the #1 reason people cheat. If they aren't feeling desired by their partner, they will tend to look for that elsewhere. So the ignored partner might be swayed to cheat if someone else is providing them with that desire they aren't getting from their partner. That's what I always tell my current GF of 8 years. She thinks I just want sex, but I just want to feel wanted. I don't want to initiate it every time. It gets old and after a while starts feel like it's just pity sex. What's most important is that you're sexually compatible, like both have high sex drives or lower sex drives. If you're not, it may cause a lot of strain and compromising that will affect the relationship. Every relationship is different as to whether it's important or not. To me personally, it's not important. I would have a relationship even if sex was not involved, but a lot of people consider it a crucial part of the relationship. It's very important to me and my so. We value our time and the physical being together. I don't want just sex. I want sex with her. Intimacy. It's a physical expression of how we feel about each other. It is important to be with someone that enjoys being intimate with you. Someone that is passionate about you in every aspect. Not that everything has to be sexual, but an inviting smile, a hug, or a glance that makes her want to spend time with you. Small for me. Physical attraction is nice, but sometimes you just can't. We haven't shagged in months. Too many issues with her uterus, and abgent stuff. She just got her uterus removed 2 weeks ago. We still have a great time, and it hasn't been a bummer, not one bit. My relationship is similar. I'd rather have an awesome marriage with limited sex but high intimacy than a crappy marriage with good sex and low intimacy. I've had both. Interesting question. From limited experience, a loving relationship where you're passionate about each other equates to good sex. I'm sure there's instances where couples are sexually incompatible, but personally even sex isn't all about sex. For instance, even if a partner had issues getting hard or say frequently finished quickly, personally it's as much about the foreplay and attentiveness before and cuddling after, that even if things go wrong, I still enjoy the intimacy. Intimacy to me is what just straight up sex can be to others. Sex without intimacy personally would be worse than being intimate without sex. TLDR. Feelings equals basis for good everything. No feelings equals doesn't matter how great the sex, I'd still not enjoy it. Discussions should be had before real commitment to lay out expectations from both partners. That way there are less surprises. Another thought. Someone on Reddit once commented something akin to, you wouldn't buy a house just because you like the toilet, but you also certainly wouldn't buy a house without one. I think they nailed it. Nailed it. It definitely is important that my partner's drive is at least close to mine, and in the last year and a half I've been lucky as mine has begun to chill out and become something more in line with my wife's. Sex is also more than just frickin', so while my wife's drive may still not be the same as mine, she'll still indulge me with my more particular tastes when the urge is there. I guess really, the amount of sex isn't as important as having a relationship where you can openly discuss your wants and needs and mutually hear each other without judgment. I can't imagine trying to maintain a long-term serious relationship with someone where I didn't feel comfortable at least discussing weird sex stuff. She'll still indulge me with my more particular tastes. You booty queef 69. I don't think you need to explain any further. Someone once said to me, if the sex is good, it's 10% of the relationship. If the sex is bad, it's 90% of the relationship. It's actually, sex is 10% of a good relationship and 90% of a bad relationship. It depends on the person. Having a high sex drive, I'd be miserable being paired with someone who found once a month acceptable. For me, it is hugely important. For others, it isn't. I know this is probably a bit more boring an answer that people might look for, but I believe it depends on the relationship. Some people have sex as a high priority, others do not. The key to this, and most other aspects of a relationship, really, is communication. As someone who has never been in a relationship nor had sex, it's interesting reading the vastly different opinions on this. I won't pretend to know how a relationship works, but all I do know is it's not sex I want, it's that close intimacy. So to answer the question, for me, not at all. You can jerk off and have that sexual urge be gone, but you can't do something so simple to get over wanting to snuggle up and watch a movie with someone you care about. Then again, I'm just a 31-year-old idiot who has missed out on many things, so take that with a grain of salt. For me, bit's very important. For my partner of 20 years, it's an awful imposition, something that she has told me she could do without for the rest of her life, and makes me a sex-obsessed pervert. Whoa, healthy. I think sex can be an important component, however, I think it has more to do with the regular physical affection to one another. Think Morticia and Gomez Adams. Loving and physical affection. I think it helps to secure bonds between the partners and gives stress-releasing hormones in the brain to help each other through difficult situations. I have needs. You have needs. If our needs are on the same page, great. If not, hey, good luck to you and good luck to me. I've been married 18 years. For the last 4 years my wife has had medical problems with her female bits, so we've not had sex. I still love her to bits and that will never change just because we can't have sex. With me and my wife not super important. She has a bladder issue that makes sex hard, so sometimes it's easier for us to just whack off on our respective sides of the bed than cuddle. When we do have sex though, it's really great. Really, sex is just something we enjoy, but we could function without it. My wife was diagnosed with stage 4B cancer soon before our wedding after an extremely rich sex life. Since then, due to the circumstances of the treatment, our sex life has subsequently diminished completely. Maybe these are the circumstances it takes for a couple, a marriage, a partnership to understand the true value of a relationship and overlook such a small bump in the road in our adventure. No one else knows our journey of survival and the struggles we have had. The night sleeping in the hospital, knowing we can't have children, the pace of the world that is incongruent with our reality and our adaptations of all of the above. Some things are far better than sex. I would choose this marriage over any other. Gonna buck the trend here and frick the down votes, but I can only be honest. For me, personally, not a lot. Maybe it's getting older. Maybe it's declining testosterone, but from over a decade ago sex has gradually declined in its importance to me. When you first get together with someone you naturally want to bang them as much as you can, but once the honeymoon period ends and the infatuation wears off, sex just really doesn't interest me like it used to. I'm fine with once or twice a month, if that. But generally after the first few months of a relationship or so, 99% of the time I'm having sex it's just to please her, not because I especially want it. And yes, this has led to significant problems in my last few relationships. For me personally, not at all. My wife and I are both lesbians who are asexual, partly due to trauma and partly due to meds and partly due to no real interest in sex. I have been missing intimacy, but we recently started giving each other baths. Like I'll sit on the side of the tub and wash her with a loofah, exfoliate her legs, wash her hair. It's so soothing for both of us. We'll just talk while we do it. It's so relieving and I feel so close to her. She'll also sit in the bathroom with me while I shower sometimes. Being naked together while not being at all sexual makes me love her more and more. It's nice. She's the best. A relationship is like a house and sex is like the bathroom. It's not the only reason to buy a house, but it'd be kinda mad if someone took my bathroom away. I like the analogy, but I'd go with kitchen. A bathroom is an essential to everyone, but the value of a kitchen can vary. Some people are entirely uninterested in cooking for themselves and are happy to live with a kitchenette or less, while others consider it a basic function and unthinkable to live without. Honestly, I didn't think it was too important in the past. As I've gotten older and been with my significant other for many years, I've realized it's pretty important. It's one of the ways a couple connects and shows their love for each other. I was born with lower spinal damage resulting in no sensation, specifically in my nether regions. I've had sex, which is partially still a gratifying experience except for the fact that I can't feel it at all, resulting in me only climaxing only once out of 50 or so sexual encounters. Most of the time I simply don't want sex and usually only do it to please my partner, which is okay by me. I like to do my best to keep the person I'm with happy, but I can't continually have the same sex with the same person often or I get bored and can't perform at all. This eventually developed into anxiety about having sex after some bad experiences and confrontational arguments over the years, and now I've basically avoided relationships completely for about 6 years. It's a real bummer because I like being in relationships, but I just can't foresee dating anyone and not being intimate with them. I'm still a frisky bastard nearly 24/7, but sex just doesn't do it for me. I wish I were born with working equipment so I could lead a more normal life. It's really frustrating. Very. If you enjoy sex and the person you're with makes it a great experience. It depends a lot on whether you meet each other's needs. I think it's also very important to take responsibility for your own sexual health and not burden a partner with expectations to do it all for you. Also, importance doesn't necessarily dictate frequency. It may be important and still not a big priority in daily practice. When the relationship is great, sex is only 10% of what's keeping it together. When the relationship is bad, it's a big part of what's tearing it apart. While not the most important part, it's definitely a major component. If you're sexually incompatible, then your relationship won't last in most cases. It depends on the couple. Like others have said, it's about compatibility. If it's high on both sides, good. If it's low on both sides, good. But if one person wants it more or less than the other, that can be hard to deal with. At the end of the day, good sex is about intimacy. There are a lot of ways to get that without sex. As an asexual man, not at all. Truly what matters is compatibility, communication, and comfort. I might not engage in sex, but I make sure my partner's needs are satisfied in other ways. All relationships will have some degree of compromise after all. It helps my partner has a low sex drive. I am not asexual, but I almost never have sex with someone I find attractive. But my type is so specific, not in a shallow way either. Personality has a lot to do with it, weirdly enough. I wonder if that's a degree of asexuality. Personally, it's extremely important. I once ended a 7-year relationship because his libido was extremely low compared to mine and I got tired of constant rejection. I need sex, physical intimacy, and orgasms for a romantic relationship to work. I feel this. My ex would want to have sex like once every few months, and ultimately it led to the end of our relationship because we were on totally different sexual levels. I've been with my wife for 19 years and at that time her once voracious sex drive has diminished to the point of being pretty much non-existent, whilst mine has remained the same. I wank a lot. No big problem really. I'm glad it doesn't impact you. Girlfriend's drive has diminished a bit and most of the time it's not a big deal, but some of the time it leaves me feeling undesired. Sex isn't the most important thing in a relationship, but I have met a lot of people who have that be the deal breaker, and I can understand why. I hooked up with a few guys in the past, and even when they were good, it wasn't anything spectacular. But when I had sex a couple of weeks ago with a guy I really like, I genuinely was into it, and there was a feeling I can't explain, kinda like a euphoria when we were together. So when it comes to sex being important, having that physical interaction and kinda finding yourself in someone sexually is something that is needed, if any of that made sense. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.